Kabul is now under Taliban control. It has yet again been declared as Islamic emirate of Afghanistan. Panic, fear, and distress are seen in faces across the country. Thousands of people are attempting to leave the country, especially the successful and progressive women. But to understand the current situation, we must look back at the origins of the Taliban. So the question is, how was the Taliban formed? In the 1980s, a lot of refugees fled Afghanistan to Pakistan. The children there attended madrasas, which indoctrinated them into believing a hardline Islamic interpretation of the Sharia laws. The Taliban subsequently were funded, armed, and trained by the CIA to fight off the Soviets occupying Afghanistan at that time. The Mujahideen was an alliance between many factions of which Taliban was a part. They unitedly fought off Soviet Union, forcing them to withdraw from Afghanistan. Following the Soviets' departure, a full-blown civil war broke out that lasted till 1996, out of which the Taliban gained power of Afghanistan. Under Taliban's rule, Afghans were strictly governed and restricted from having basic human virtues. The restrictions were specifically on women. Women were subjected to wear strict clothing that required them to fully cover their physique. They were unable to leave their homes without a mahram, unable to work in corporate jobs or attend educational institutions. Women had to endure a very harsh lifestyle under Taliban. Under Taliban's rule, televisions, movies, and cinemas were also banned. Taliban fell out of power in 2001 after the infamous 9/11, which occurred in the World Trade Center. They were suspected for hosting Al-Qaeda and the notorious Osama bin Laden. George W. Bush, president of USA at the time, offered an ultimatum to hand over Osama bin Laden. The offer was refused by the Taliban, which was met with US invasion to avenge 9/11 and allegedly destabilize Afghanistan. The US military fought with a decentralized guerrilla force, resulting in 700 casualties and countless civilian deaths. Kandahar surrendered and eventually the power was transferred to elected President Hamid Karzai. But the Taliban did not stand down in making news headlines even after their fallout. They regrouped when the US pulled its resources into the Iraq War, slowly engaging in combat with American militias and taking control of cities one after another. Funded by illegal opium and heroin trades and mining minerals provided them the much-needed financial authority. Massive killing streak took place, targeting women, politicians, employees, and many more. Unnumbered deaths were recorded during the process. A total $2.1 trillion was spent on Afghanistan and $85 billion were used on training Afghan national soldiers. Lack of peace negotiations among the Ghani government and the Taliban over the years caused the US government to step in and intervene. On 29 February 2020, Trump administration signed a deal with Taliban that guaranteed a complete withdrawal of US forces from Afghanistan under the condition that Afghan soil will not be a training ground for terrorism. America's overnight withdrawal gave the Taliban the upper hand to gain control of major highways, military, and prison camps. Taliban freed most of their convicts and gained territory without much resistance. They negotiated with tribe elders and members, possessing power without bloodshed. Taliban claims that the US troops left marks after the end of the 2-decade-long war. Afghan soldiers had to sustain under harsh conditions with low food and resource availability. One Afghan soldier even claims to share one portion of ration with 5 other soldiers. In other circumstances, they even had to buy their own utilities, uniforms, and adhere to damaged boots. In under a week, they managed to capture all territories under the control of the Ghani government, including Afghanistan's 4th largest city, Mazar-e-Sharif, Afghanistan's capital, Kabul, and other provinces in north, west, and south. Elders in those provinces took the charge and signed a peace treaty with the Taliban, as it was much easier than to actually resist their advances. On 15th August, Ashraf Ghani, president of Afghanistan, flees as Taliban reaches the capital of Kabul. Ambassador Zahir claims Ghani of stealing $169 million from the state coffers and betraying the state in large. Ashraf Ghani, however, denies such claims. He subsequently hands over the leadership power to Mullah Baradar, the co-founder of Taliban. District police and multiple security personnel in Kabul have fled, leaving the ministry completely empty. US diplomats, ambassadors, and NGO workers left Afghanistan after the Taliban approached the capital. They were met with huge commotion by the panicked civilians who spared no effort to flee Kabul, even going to heights of climbing the airplane's side wings, which directly resulted in their deaths. Here is what the Taliban has to say about all this. The The Taliban promises women's rights, media freedom, amnesty for the government's organization, and ensures a peaceful transfer of power to the general public. Taliban wants to reconstruct Afghanistan and implement new legislations which will allow women to work corporate jobs and live surrounding the framework of Islam. The Taliban gave the first indication on Tuesday since coming to power that they would not make the full burqa compulsory for women as they did when they last ruled Afghanistan. However, contradictory actions have been found regardless of their claims. News of instances such as killing Afghanistan's police chief, public punishment for burglary, women claiming to get raped and forced to marry Taliban soldiers have been strongly surfacing. Public reaction to the Taliban has gravely been a part of the entire Western media. Women working in dignified jobs are deeply terrified of their future whereabouts because of their public exposure. Afghan women are mostly staying indoors due to instilled fear among them. They are unable to trust the Taliban's alleged laws of protecting women's rights. Women and underage children are scared to pursue education or jobs. Ashraf Ghani, who fled Afghanistan after Taliban reached Kabul, resurfaced with a tweet defending his resignation as a method to prevent further bloodshed. However, Afghans did not really like Ghani's corrupt government as well. Boris Johnson urged other countries not to recognize the Taliban as the government of the Afghans. UN Security Council has talks to reform the Afghan government, reminding the need to fight against the terrorist group. Afghanistan, the graveyard of kingdoms, stands anew as the Taliban grips to their sovereign power once again, opening a new chapter for the lives of the Afghans.